I'm Shay Russell from mining.com.au, and joining me today is Simon Wensley, the Managing Director for Metro Mining. Simon, how are you today?
Yes, good morning. Very well, Shay. How are you?
I'm very well. Good to see you again. Now, I'm so glad you've taken the time to jump back on because last time you and I spoke, we were talking about the overall bauxite market. However, based on your Q2 announcement that you've put through today, it looks like there's some good news that has filtered through from the bauxite market. However, I sort of wanted to focus on your commissioning and ramping up of the project plans. Can you please elaborate for everybody listening what you put in your Q2 report today?
Sure, Shay. Thanks very much. And yes, the bauxite market is continuing to strengthen as we touched on yesterday, and that can be seen in the pricing that we've reported in that Q2 results announcement. So, look, yeah, the main news though about the Q2 report is the expansion. We've put all of the jigsaw pieces together. We've got the flow sheet running. We've commissioned all of the individual elements, and we're now ramping up that whole expanded flow sheet. So it's, in terms of the strategy over the last couple of years and what's going to set Metro into its pattern for the next 5 or 10 years, this expansion is absolutely critical. So, yeah, big news, expansion, 100% mechanically complete, commissioned, and now ramping up.
Now, it's great to see that it's all ramping up and the expansion is complete. However, I'm sure it wasn't all smooth sailing to get here. Were there any bumps in the road? And I guess what I want to know is how are you going to overcome them for the next 12 months?
Look, I've been in mining and metals for 30 years. Nothing, when you're doing an expansion, particularly when you're doubling expansion like we are, doubling capacity, nothing quite goes as you expect it. Look, we had a bit of weather in the early part of the quarter, which delayed things a little bit, particularly the screening circuit. We had a breakdown in our barge loader for a few days, which was sort of obviously unplanned. And so look, there were a few things that kind of didn't quite go the way we wanted, but at the end of the day, that delayed us by a few weeks. But by the end of the quarter, we did have everything in place, and we were already demonstrating sort of a pathway to that 7.5 million tons, capacity that we're aiming for. So at the moment, we're running consistently at about that 6.5 million tons. So on the ramp up is on the way, but the trend, even though it's about 4 or 5 weeks late because of those delays, the trend is exactly as I had hoped it would be. It is on the steepness of the ramp up has occurred, is happening, and we are, on the way to that. So yeah, look, a little bit behind where I wanted to be, but effectively all the elements are in place, and we've demonstrated each individual part of the flow sheet has actually already demonstrated that 7.5 million tons. That is equivalent to about 30,000 tons per day in terms of a daily rate. So we've demonstrated that 30,000 tons on a day or several days or whatever, right the way through that. So we know the capability is there, but the trick now is actually plumbing it all together. So, we've got 5 or 6 elements of our flow sheet. They've all got to, talk to each other. There's an interface between each one, and that's all got to sort of work together in an integrated system. So the focus of my team now very much is on that improvement, on getting that sort of getting all of those things working smoothly together, reducing the variability, and being able to sort of demonstrate right the way through to where we load the ships, that consistent output.
I'm so glad you mentioned ships, and allow me to drop the professional veneer for just a moment. Let's talk about your unusual backdrop. Now, your project is right up the pointy end of Queensland. It's right up the top. And let's be honest, the tippy top of Queensland is not known as a deep water port. So what do these ships have to do with you getting your product to market?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we operate in the far north of Queensland. We're privileged to be on operating out of the Skardon River. The Skardon River is effectively our port, so we have a river port where we load barges. That means that and we're in an environmentally sensitive area. So I mean, building a huge port there for a project like ours is probably not the best thing to do. So we've approached this very much in a capital light and a footprint light way, and so that's all I think good for the very long run of the project and the environment. But it does introduce some complexities, and of course, what we operate is a transshipping model. That's quite rare in Australia. In fact, I think this exact model is unique to Metro Mining. So we load our barges at the river port. We have a draft restriction, and so the tugs tow those out. The draft restriction is mainly at the mouth of the river, so that's about sort of 5 or 6 kilometers from where we load the barges. And we have to then, part of the complexity I mentioned around integrated planning is about, loading those barges to the depth that will be suitable to actually get the barges out through that bar at the end of the river. So we then tow that out, and then you can see, as you see behind me, we then use a transhipper to load large ocean-going vessels. So we've got there a Capesize vessel being loaded by our new transhipper Ikamba. That's one of the biggest parts of our expansion was the purchase and the refurbishment and the mobilization of that transhipper. So that's now operating at roughly about 80% of our target capacity. And so as we start to deal with all of the little sort of gremlins in the system and work those out and so on, so that will start to we'll start to get up to that 100%. I anticipate that to happen over the next few weeks. So we're right in the middle of that final part of the ramp up there. So yeah, it is a complex system. We do use software and predictive simulation to be able to optimize that, and the teams are now working on making sure that we do that safely and we do that productively.
Listen, Simon, I have to say, I really admire the ingenuity and innovative approach that you've taken to embracing a light footprint and where you are. It's fantastic to see a company doing something like this where it hasn't been done before. Listen, there seems to be pretty much good news in your Q2 report today. I want to thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to hearing more about this port system that you've developed. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Shay. Thanks very much.